All right, so Director James Gunn put out a list of the 27 sequels that are actually better than the original. Let's go through it. Welcome to the newest episode of SDW.
Super Dario World!
It's a me,
Dario!
Woohoo! Let's go!
All right, so before I begin, let me just give you a quick little, announcement here. Supposedly later today, he confirmed, but I will be recording another podcast with my kid brother. That is a separate podcast from this one. It's called Super Dario Brothers. He has a list of the 10 best anime shows of all time, and I am going to critique it. I'm actually kind of looking forward to this because I recently, by recently I mean I just finished watching one of the series he recommended, because, let me see, I guess I have to explain at the beginning. I want to work on a particular project, and I was doing research on a particular genre, so I asked him for recommendations. He recommended a particular show, just finished it, and it's one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. One of the greatest shows I've ever seen, and I would tell you about it right now, except that it better be on his fucking list. It better be on his fucking list, and so I'll let him describe. I'm assuming it will be there, and if not, he's an idiot, but I've always called him an idiot, but anyway. So we'll be talking about that later today. For you, if you want to find that podcast, you can pretty much find it anywhere you can find this one. Just type in Super Dario Brothers on iTunes, the iHeartRadio app, anywhere, Spotify, anywhere. Or just follow my Facebook page, Super Dario World. I'll post a link right there. I update everything there, so honestly, it's the easiest way for you to find any podcast I work in. Also, any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me at Dario the Show on Instagram or at Super Dario_World. Again, that podcast will be up later today, unless he flakes on me, but he's confirmed. So if he flakes, then he's an a-hole, and I'll have to murder him. Anyway, probably shouldn't have said that, but doesn't matter. So I found a little tweet here from Director James Gunn. For those of you who don't know who James Gunn is, he directed a couple of little movies called The Guardians of the Galaxy. Honestly, he's a really good director. I like his style. I like the things that he's done with superheroes, and so far, I'm a fan of his work. Let's say that. I'm a fan of his work. And he put out a couple of tweets saying a bunch of sequels that he thought were better than the originals. And this is a pretty big claim. All right? It's a pretty big claim. And so let's go through it. And I got to do it really. I'll try doing it kind of quickly because, well, there's no particular order to this. He just wrote them down. Honestly, there's no rhyme or reason or logic into anything. And some of them are, let's say, a little weird. But let's just see. Let's go through them. And I'll go through all 27. And so for the first one, he has Toy Story 2. Oh, this one's rough. This one's very difficult. I know a lot of people like it better than the original one. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm not a big Toy Story 2 guy. It doesn't really hold that special place in my heart. I think the first one still is better. Honestly, probably my favorite one was 4. But again, there's something about seeing something in a particular point in your life, and you have to see a certain movie at the right moment. And I guess I saw that one in a very, very good moment. But I'll that one I will go with the consensus. The consensus has always been that Toy Story 2 is better than Toy Story 1, so I'll allow it. Next, he has Godfather Part 2. Now, here I disagree, and I know that it's a very similar debate from Toy Story 1 to Toy Story 2, but to me, Marlon Brando's performance in the first one is one of the greatest performances of all time for starters, and he does a way better Vito Corleone than Robert De Niro. Marlon Brando's a pretty interesting dude. He's a weird dude, and he had a special talent. Well, first off, he was notoriously extremely difficult to work with, but he had an amazing talent, and he could draw your attention like very few actors could actually do it. And so his performance is out of this world, and you just can't compare it. Just because Robert De Niro is one of the greatest actors of all time, or he used to be. But even he falls short. He can't fill in Marlon Brando's shoes. So no, the Godfather one is way better. Every single line in that movie is basically an iconic line. So yeah, I'm gonna stick. I'm a Godfather Part 1 guy. Next we have SpiderMan 2. These are the Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, And I agree. Honestly, I agree with this one. The first Spider-Man is okay, but the second one, the villain is just so much better. Alfred Molina's Doc Ock is just way better. The story makes a lot more sense. And even though, looking back on it, it is kind of silly overall, but I think the performance is just better. The story has a lot more weight. And that whole Peter Parker's a loser at the beginning of it is just hysterical. So, yes, I agree with this one. Let's move on. Next, we have The Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans. Never seen it. Don't care, honestly, so I'm going to skip that one. Following that, we have Evil Dead 2. This is... I understand why he would want to do this, because Evil Dead... It's really weird, because Evil Dead 2 is basically a ridiculous remake of the Evil Dead 1. If you've never seen it, it's a horror comedy classic. Again, another Sam Raimi movie now that I think about it. But the first one, I actually like the first one better. I know that Evil Dead 2 led to Army of Darkness and all that stuff, but I think that honestly, I think the first one's a better movie overall. Plus, you have a really weird... I'll never forget it, because that's the movie that has a really weird tree rape scene. So, it's, let's say, ingrained in my mind way more than the second one. The second one was just like a ridiculous version of the first one, so I'm sticking with Evil Dead 1. Next, we have Shrek 2. Here, I also disagree, because Shrek 2, unless I'm mistaken, I'm confusing it. This is where they introduce Puss in Boots, who's a great character. But the villain in the first one, Lord Farquaad, voiced by John Lithgow, is hysterical. It's just great. And it's, in a way, it started the whole thing. It has, let's say, points for originality. So I'm sticking with the first one and that one too. Moving on, we have The Dark Knight. Yes, 1,000 times yes. One of the best comic book movies of all time. One of the greatest movies of all time, to be honest. Sort of a weaker ending, unfortunately. It was because of the death of Heath Ledger, and they had to improvise. But still, overall, great villain, great story, great plot. So yes, definitely agree. Way better than Batman Begins. Moving on, we have Bride of Frankenstein. I saw this one way back in the day, and honestly, didn't really much care for it. So let's move on. Hellboy 2. I'm guessing this is the Golden Army. Not really convinced. I mean, there's a reason why we never got a third one, and it's because the second one wasn't all that great. And to me, it was pretty simple. The villain. The villain was not as great. And in fact, I think it was kind of a weak villain overall. I didn't like him. He was kind of a puss compared to the really creepy Nazi dudes in the first one. So no, sorry. Nuh-uh, not even close. Next, we have The Road Warrior. This is the Mad Max from the Mad Max franchise. Yes, 100 times yes. The Road Warrior is actually the one that most people remember. Very few people actually remember the Mad Max, which is the one where his family dies. It's very tragic, it's very weird, but honestly, it's not that great of a movie. The story's fine. It's just not that well made. It's very, very 80s or 70s. I don't even know when it came out. But the second one is great. That's the one where they have like the group of raiders trying to attack the town that's making fuel. That's the iconic one. It's probably the best Mel Gibson one. But Fury Road, I think overall is better. I mean, just better tech and everything. But yeah, definitely Road Warrior. 100% agree there with James Gunn. Next, we have For a Few Dollars More. This is from the Dollars trilogy. This Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns. This is a fistful of dollars, a few dollars more, and then The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Honestly, they're not really related. It's not supposed to be a trilogy. And if I have to pick one, I would have gone with The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But I don't know. Is it a few dollars more better than No, honestly, the best one in the trilogy, which is technically a sequel, is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. So I'm skipping that one. Next, we have Paddington 2. I didn't see Paddington 1, I didn't see Paddington 2, but for some reason, Rotten Tomatoes gave it a perfect 100, which is one of the reasons why I'm like, The Godfather doesn't have a perfect 100, just to clarify. So there's many reasons why I don't trust Rotten Tomatoes. That's one of them. Anyway, moving on. We have X2, X-Men United. Okay, it's better than the first one. 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 Does that make it great? Nah, but it's better than the first one, and it's better than the first one, so let's move on. Next, we have Empire Strikes Back. Yes, 100,000 times yes. The best movie in that entire franchise. One of the greatest sci-fi fantasies of all time. Definitely. Is it the greatest middle movie of a trilogy of all time? That would be an interesting debate. It would be it's in a fist fight with The Dark Knight. So, okay, I'm gonna have to pause myself because that's a whole other thing. Let's move on. Next on on James Gunn's sequels that are better than the original, we have Wrath of Khan. Yeah, definitely, and it's all 100% about the villain. To me, well, I've always been a villain guy, but Khan is one of the most iconic villains of all time. Sci-fi or any genre you want to put there, he's one of the most iconic villains of all time, and that just screams iconic. Khan! So, yeah, definitely agree. Next, we have Superman 2. Unless I'm mistaken, this is the one with Lex Luthor, played by Gene Hackman. It's okay. I'm not a big Christopher Reeve Superman guy, but it's because I saw it when the problem is that it did not age very well. It did not age well at all, and by that point, the Superman that I had been seeing is very different. I'd been seeing animated Superman, which I guess it's not similar in effects, but I'd already see him be, let's say, more impressive. But overall, I can see it. The story was actually better. After that, we have Batman Returns, which is the one with Catwoman and the Penguin. No. Fuck no. The original Batman, this is the Tim Burton Batman. The original one is way better with the Joker and Jack Nicholson. Way better villain overall. The story makes way more sense. Batman Returns is kind of all over the place. I'm sorry. I said kind of. It's really all over the place. And there's a thing of just trying to cram in too many villains in a movie. It was just a tad too much. They made it's probably my favorite Catwoman. I'll give you that. But no, definitely not better than the original. Next we have Gremlins 2. I've never been a Gremlins guy, but I know the first one has Leo DiCaprio, and I think Rachel from Friends, what's her name, Jennifer Aniston. So just because of that, I'm gonna give it to the first one. Honestly, I don't think I even saw the second one. Moving on, we have Blade 2. Oh, this is interesting. Because if I'm not mistaken, I need to double check this, but Blade 2 was made by Guillermo del Toro. Did he make the first one, though? I remember the second one is actually pretty good, and it's better because, again, the villain, this is the vampire that actually eats vampires. Yes, directed by Guillermo del Toro. It's a little bit wilder. Visually, is a lot more impressive. And so, yeah, honestly, I'll give it to it. It's a Blade, but kind of unleashed. They went way more over the top on this one, and I really enjoyed it. The villain was both likable and tragic, so yeah, I'll give it to him. Next, we have Legend of the Drunken Master. This is one of the Jackie Chan movies. Any Jackie Chan movie is good, really, but very similar to other stuff. They did something in the first movie, and they realized it worked, and so they're like, all right, okay, let's do that, but crazier. That's always been Jackie Chan's style. Like, all right, okay, what I did was pretty good. Now let's see how we can beat ourselves in this, how we can actually make it even better. So yeah, I'll give it to him. Legend of the Drunken Master is better. Honestly, most of the stuff Jackie Chan does is pretty good, except that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger that looks terrible. I haven't seen it, but it looks terrible. Anyway, moving on, we have Desperado. This is Guillermo del Toro. Oh, I'm sorry, not Guillermo del Toro. This is Robert Rodriguez. The movie with Antonio Banderas, Salma Hayek. Is it a straight-up sequel to El Mariachi? I think so, yeah. I mean, and then the sequel to that is Once Upon a Time in Mexico. But, yes, definitely. Okay, the El Mariachi is a movie that was made with, like, $10. The dude had no money, no equipment, no nothing. So it's let's just say he found a way to make a movie that's pretty good. It's pretty different. It's pretty decent, but without spending any money. In Desperado, he actually has money to make it, and the fight sequences are great. The story's great. The performance by Antonio Banderas is really good. So yeah, and I think that the shootout in the beginning with the I'm sorry, I can't do guitar. Sorry, I can't do guitar. I can do other instruments, but I can't do guitar. All right, yeah, that's a little bit better. Yes, definitely way better, and it's all because of the money. They had money to actually make this movie, so it's definitely going to be 100 times better than the original one that they made with like $5. And I wish I was kidding. I think it was like $1,000, which for a movie is insane. Anyway, moving on. Next, we have Blade Runner 2049, and yes, 1,000 times yes. Blade Runner. All right, Blade Runner is an iconic movie. Okay. Made by Ridley Scott, one of the greatest directors of all time, one of the greatest sci-fi movies of all time, changed the game, changed the vision that we had for the future. Actually, if you look at the way that they expected LA to be in the 21st century and the way it is now, we're doing pretty good. Honestly, we're doing pretty good. Harrison Ford, one of his most iconic roles. It's one of my favorites. It's a slow burn. You have to be really into film noir, but it's a very good movie, and you have to really be paying attention because it's kind of a thinker, and it's always better if you watch the director's cut because it's been debated a billion times. So if you notice, it has a lot of requirements to watch that movie. Blade Runner 2049 is visually one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen, directed by Denis Villeneuve, however the hell you say his name, which he's directing I believe he did Arrival, and he's directing the upcoming Dune movie, which I'm super excited about still. It's probably the movie that I'm most excited about for in 2020, because he's made really good sci-fi. And 2049 is probably among it's easily in the top 10 of the greatest sci-fi movies of all time. It topped Blade Runner, the original, and the performance is really great. It managed to push the story in a way that made sense. And the ending is phenomenal. It gives a nod to one of my favorite shows of all time. Some people miss it, some missed it, some people don't. But overall, great movie. It's a great mystery movie. It's a great sci-fi movie. It's a great action movie. I cannot recommend Blade Runner 2049 more. It was probably my favorite movie of that year, which was 2017, 2016. But yeah, easily my favorite movie of that year. Next, we have Magnum Force, which is another Clint Eastwood movie, which is Dirty Harry, another movie in the Dirty Harry trilogy. Yeah, Magnum Force is probably the most famous one, and if I'm not mistaken, that's the one where he says, "Feeling lucky, punk." I'm pretty sure that's the one where he says it, or does he say it in the first one? I don't know. Point is, I do remember. I remember watching all of them because I got like the trilogy DVD, and I did remember that the second one I did enjoy it more. So there you go. Next we have Final Destination 2. Interesting, because they're both bad movies. Final Destination overall is not a good franchise. Let me just say that the plot is kind of stupid because you're basically running away from death. Spoiler alert, you can't run away from death, all right? It's impossible, and that's what makes it really annoying. And also, there's nothing for them to fight. It's basically the director finding newer and more creative ways of killing his characters, which can be fun, but as far as the story goes, not that great. The second one, I think it's the one with the car crash. Let me just look into this real quick. Yes, it's the one with the car crash. Not better than the first one. No, honestly, no, because the first one basically sets everything up, and the ones that follow are pretty much the same thing. Somebody has a vision of them dying, they stop it, and so death is going to be chasing after them. Every single one after that is pretty much the same thing. So I'm going to give the nod to the first one just because of, creativeness. Next we have Captain America Winter Soldier. I 100% agree with this. Winter Soldier is one of the best movies in the MCU. Top 5, I think. I'm just pulling that one out of my ass. But I'm pretty sure that if I do when I do my rankings, because I'm still working on that, I'm waiting for all of them to be on Disney Plus, and I believe they're not on Disney Plus yet. But yeah, highly recommend Winter Soldier, and I think definitely. Well, first off, I need to say this. Not only is Winter Soldier one of the best movies in the MCU, what is it? Captain America: The First Avenger is one of the worst movies in the MCU. It's crap. It's garbage. It really pissed me off when I saw it. I was never a big. All right, Captain America is probably my favorite superhero and my favorite Marvel superhero. But Chris Evans, I was never really a fan. I thought he was too soft. He was a better Human Torch than he was a Captain America. Captain America should have been closer to Clint Eastwood, like a rough, like way rougher around the edges. Chris Evans was way too soft. The first movie really doesn't make sense, and it really upsets me because honestly, my expectations for that movie were really high. I expected to see Saving Private Ryan, but with Captain America in it. Turns out that what we got is just Hydra doing really weird things during WW2. At one point, you even forget about they forgot about World War II. You know, that little thing, they kind of forgot about it. So I really, really dislike the first one, and the second one is a straight up spy movie, but with superheroes in it. Everybody is at the top of their game. You actually get to see Nick Fury being a badass. You get to see what's her name, Maria Hill being a badass. You get to see Agent 16 being a badass. Everybody in there is at the top of their game, and it's a great spy movie overall. Honestly, it's a great spy movie. I highly recommend it. And so let's move on. We have I guess it kind of counts as the last one, and that's Swordsman 2. This is a Jet Li movie. I saw this one way back in the day. I don't remember it, but I remember I thought it was cool. So I guess I'll leave it at that. I honestly don't remember the first one. In fact, I'm not even sure if I saw the first one, but I'm a Jet Li fan, so whatever. Last but not least, he added a P.S. It's an inarguable fact. Alien and aliens are equal. No. It is not an inarguable fact. They are both great. They are both very, very, very different movies. However, one would not exist without the other. So, you have to give them... If they're equal, then you have to give the nod to the one who did it first. They created the franchise. Now, these are very different movies. The first one, Ridley Scott again, sci-fi horror, trapped in a ship with probably the most terrifying creature in cinema. The second one, trapped in a planet with multiple of the scariest creatures in cinema, but instead of just being a lonely space crew, it's actually a group of Marines. So it's more of an action movie. The first one is a horror sci-fi. The second one is an action sci-fi. Very different. Both great in their own way, both iconic in their own way, but if you're going to say that they're equal, then that means that the tiebreaker is the one who did it first, because without the one who did it first, you wouldn't get a second one. So, it's an inarguable fact, then, that Alien is better than Aliens. Even though, let me see what I think about that. Ooh, because, Aliens had a better budget. It was, it has a lot more Ripley in it. Ripley being a badass in it. All the Marines. You get the Queen Alien. Oh, this is hard. But honestly, no. If I'm going with my gut instinct and how well it's aged, I'm going to go with Alien. Because you got to give the nod to the original. In the tie, you got to give the nod to the original. So, that's it. That's my take on James Gunn's movies, sequels that are better than the original movies. Overall, I agreed, I think. With most of them, there were a few there that I was like, nah, no way. But overall, yeah, I agreed. So, that's it for today. I kept it short, even though I just realized that it was over 20 minutes, but I try to keep it short. Quick reminder again, later today, you can look forward to the Super Dario Brothers podcast. If you don't know where to find it, just follow the link on my Facebook page, Super Dario World. I will be loading it there today. Eric has a list of the best the best anime shows of all time. I am going to, honestly, I don't know what to expect, but we'll see. This is his first list, and he wanted to do something that he felt really confident about, so we'll see how it goes. I will try to not rip into him too much. Anyway, that's it for today. Any comments, questions, suggestions, you can find me at Dario the Show on Instagram or at Super Dario World. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you again next time.